What if I told you there are 5 luxury watch brands that will never appear in your local authorized dealer, that will never receive a Watches and Wonders booth, and that the people controlling which brands you hear about have a very specific financial reason to keep buried? Because the moment most collectors discover these 5 brands, they start asking extremely uncomfortable questions about every watch they have already bought. Over the next few minutes, we're counting down 5 brands the Swiss establishment, and I mean Richemont, Swatch Group, and the conglomerates with the most to lose, has done everything in its power to keep off your radar. Some are producing finishing quality at a fraction of what their Swiss counterparts charge for equivalent craftsmanship. Some have built quiet cult followings among the most serious collectors in the world. And 2 of them are going to change how you think about what a luxury watch is actually worth. Stay with us, especially for number 2, a Swiss brand that did something so publicly embarrassing to the establishment involving a block of Swiss cheese that it has never been fully forgiven. And number 1, a Japanese watchmaker that independent horological experts say is producing some of the finest hand-finished movements on Earth today. The Swiss media has been almost entirely silent about it. That silence is the story. If this channel is giving you information the major watch media won't, hit that subscribe button. The watch business covers the economics of this industry without the dealer relationships, the sponsored integrations, or the access journalism shaping what you normally read. Just the data and the truth. Here are 5 luxury watch brands the Swiss industry hopes you never discover. Counted down from overlooked to absolutely unforgivable. Number 5, Baltic. The French micro brand that proves Switzerland has no monopoly on finishing. Baltic launched in 2018 out of Paris, founded by 2 designers with no interest in playing the Swiss game. No authorized dealer network, no exhibition presence at Watches and Wonders, the annual Geneva event controlled by the Fondation de la Haute Horlogerie, where floor space is effectively gated by the major Swiss conglomerates. Richemont alone controls over 60 of the brands that do exhibit there. Baltic applied for a booth. Baltic was not offered one. That's not a coincidence. Here's what most people miss. At $350 to $600, Baltic is producing dial finishing, case polishing, and strap quality that embarrasses Swiss brands, charging 3 times as much for pieces built around outsourced movements and legacy branding. Their bicompax chronograph has been assessed by independent watchmakers who placed its finishing quality alongside Swiss retail pieces costing well over $2,000. You can verify this for yourself. Secondary market premiums on Kurono 24 tell the same story, with used Baltic pieces regularly trading at or above retail. The collector community has caught up. Independent reviews confirmed what Baltic's waiting list already knew. And collectors from Switzerland, Germany, and Japan are now importing directly from Paris because their local authorized dealers have never heard of the brand. They never will. Baltic sells out within hours of every release with no marketing budget and no mainstream watch media coverage. The audience found it anyway. The establishment hopes Baltic stays invisible to the casual buyer. It's available right now if you know where to look, and it's probably one of the most important watches in your price range that has never once appeared in your feed. Number 4, Nomos Glashütte. The German watchmaker the Swiss establishment quietly decided to stop discussing. Glashutte is a town of roughly 3,000 people in the Saxon Mountains of eastern Germany, and it has been producing precision mechanical watches since 1845. Nomos was founded there in 1990, and what it has spent the 3 decades since doing is producing genuine in-house mechanical movements at prices that make the Swiss value proposition almost impossible to defend. A Nomos Orion with an in-house swing system movement costs around $1,300. A Longines equivalent built around an outsourced ETA caliber, which is the Swatch Group subsidiary that controls a significant portion of the global movement supply, costs more with fewer proprietary components. That's not a quirk of the market. It's a feature of a system with a very strong interest in German precision, not being part of the conversation buyers are having. For context, a COSC, certified Swiss chronometer at this price tier, is not providing you with meaningfully better engineering than a Nomos DW movement. Independent watchmakers have said so plainly. Watches and Wonders is a Swiss-controlled event. Nomos does not exhibit there. The major Swiss watch media covers Nomos sporadically, briefly, and usually only when a product launch gives them no choice. Here is what serious collectors have figured out. Nomos is the answer to every watch buyer who has ever felt the brand they were about to purchase was asking them to pay for a logo. And if you are wondering where Germany's finest sits in a global context, consider that the same collectors who wear Nomos also tend to own Grand Seiko, the Japanese manufacturer, making a similar argument about Swiss pricing at the higher end of the market. Precision does not require a Geneva postcode. It is probably already in the price range you are shopping right now, and nobody at your local authorized dealer will ever mention it. Number 3, Ming. The Malaysian watchmaker that horological insiders say is producing finishing quality that rivals Patek Philippe at a fraction of the price, and the Swiss watch media has covered it in roughly the same way they cover most things that threaten the established order, which is to say, almost not at all. Ming was founded by Ming Theyin, a former fine art and commercial photographer, in collaboration with a Swiss movement specialist based in Geneva. Every Ming timepiece is hand-finished using sapphire crystals, modified Swiss movements, and case finishing techniques that independent experts have placed in the top tier of contemporary watchmaking globally, comfortably alongside work from names like F.P. Journe, who occupies a similar position as an independent whose quality the establishment respects, but whose presence outside the conglomerate system makes them structurally inconvenient. The collector community has caught up. Ming releases sell out in under 60 seconds, and waiting lists do not exist because there is no list. You are either watching at the exact moment of release, or you are not getting one. Secondary market prices on Kurono 24 tell you everything about demand that the watch press won't. Swiss watch media covers brands that advertise. Ming doesn't advertise. Ming doesn't attend Watches and Wonders. Ming produces watches that make several five-figure Swiss pieces look as if they're charging for the name rather than the object, and the establishment has very little to say about that because there is nothing comfortable to say. If you're starting to see the pattern here, if you're realizing that the brands receiving the most coverage are not necessarily the brands doing the most impressive work, do something useful. Hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this conversation is worth having, and if you haven't subscribed yet, this channel exists to give you the information the major watch media has a financial interest in not publishing. Number 2, Moser and Cie. The Swiss brand that made the establishment so angry it has never been fully forgiven. Moser and Cie is a Swiss manufacturer founded in 1828 in Schaffhausen. They produce entirely in-house movements. Their finishing is exceptional. Their long power reserve calibers are among the most technically accomplished in mid-tier Swiss watchmaking, and they are, on paper, everything the Swiss industry claims to celebrate. The establishment's response to all of that has been a mixture of grudging respect and poorly concealed fury. Here's why. In 2017, Moser released the Swiss Madwatch. The case was machined from a block of Swiss cheese. The dial read, in place of the usual brand name, very Swiss-made. It was a direct, public, and extremely well-documented attack on the Swiss-made labeling laws, which at the time required only 60% of a watch's production value to originate in Switzerland before the manufacturer could print those two words on the dial, the same dial that might house a movement built substantially from components sourced outside the country. For context, a COSC chronometer certification tells you about timekeeping accuracy. It tells you nothing about where components were made. Swiss-made told you even less. Independent horological experts confirmed what Moser was demonstrating. The Swiss-made designation, as legally defined, says almost nothing specific about where a movement was designed, where components were sourced, or whether the craftsmanship is genuinely world-class. Moser proved it with Derry. The establishment's response was not to fix the labeling law, it was to quietly ensure Moser stayed peripheral to conversations they might otherwise have been centered in. Richemont brands exhibit prominently at watches. Moser is not in that conversation. Serious collectors have known this for years. Moser and Cie is one of the most honest watchmakers operating in Switzerland right now, and the establishment would rather you didn't realize the brand openly criticizing the system is playing by better rules than most of the brands defending it. Their watches are sitting in independent retailers right now. The authorized dealer near your office doesn't stock them. That is entirely the point. Number 1. Kurono Tokyo, the Japanese watchmaker that independent horological experts call one of the finest craftsmen alive today, and the Swiss watch media has almost nothing to say about it. Hajime Asaoka has been making watches by hand in Tokyo since 1997. Entirely alone, he designs the movement, machines the parts, hand finishes every component, and assembles every watch himself. There's no factory, there's no team. There's one man in a workshop in Japan who has spent close to 3 decades refining a level of hand finishing that puts him in a category occupied by perhaps 5 people on Earth. The broader Japanese watchmaking tradition, the same tradition that produced Grand Seiko Zaratsu polishing, and the finishing philosophy that high-end Swiss independent makers quietly acknowledge as a benchmark, runs through everything Asaoka does. The collector community has caught up. Asaoka launched Kurono Tokyo in 2019 as an accessible line, and at under $2,000, Kurono pieces feature hand-finishing quality that independent watchmakers have compared directly to grand complications from Swiss manufacturers costing 20 to 40 times the price. The perlage, the anglage, the beveling, assessed by people who handle movements from Patek, from Lang, from FP Journey, and from the finest independent Swiss makers. And the verdict is consistent. Kurono releases sell out in under 60 seconds. There is no authorized dealer network, no authorized dealers, no advertising. There is one website, a release date, and buyers from 40 countries who know something the Swiss watch press would prefer not to discuss openly. On Chrono 24, Kurono pieces trade at significant premiums to retail. That is the secondary market making a statement the editorial press will not. The finest living independent watchmaker, by the assessment of some of the most serious horological voices in the world, is Japanese. His most accessible work costs under $2,000, and the Swiss watch press, whose editorial relationships are built around the advertising budgets of the brands they cover, Rolex, Richemont's portfolio, and Swatch Group's stable, has almost nothing to say about him. He is not in your local authorized dealer. He will never be. He is not going to Watches and Wonders, but his next release date is probably already in your search bar if you go looking tonight. If you made it all the way through this list, you've just learned something most watch buyers will go their entire collecting lives without knowing. The watch media you've been reading, the shows you've been watching, the brands you've been considering, they are not a neutral window into horology. They are a curated presentation shaped by advertising relationships, dealer networks, and the economic interests of the largest conglomerates in the industry, including Richemont, Swatch Group, LVMH, and the structures built around them. These 5 brands aren't obscure because they're inferior. They're obscure because they're inconvenient. If this video changed the way you think about where you get your watch information, smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people looking for an honest conversation about what's actually happening in this industry. Drop a comment below and tell me which one surprised you most. Are you now researching Baltic? Are you Team Moser, or has Kurono Tokyo just become your next obsession? I read every single comment and I want to know. And if you haven't subscribed to the watch business yet, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. This channel covers the economics of the watch industry without the conflicts of interest shaping everyone else's coverage. I'd love to have you on this journey with us. Remember, the most exceptional luxury watchmaking in the world isn't always found in the pages of the magazines the industry funds. Sometimes it's in a workshop in Tokyo, or a factory in Saxony, or a studio in Paris, just waiting for the right buyer to go looking for it.